Hi, I am Prashant Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, MS Engineering College, Bangalore. In this video, I am going to explain the algorithm and the data structures used by SIC assembler. So let us see, SIC assembler usually use three data structure. First one is OpTab, is called Operation Code Table. Second one is SymTab, is called Symbol Table. Third one is location counter. It's a variable, so we will store the location of the instruction. So OpTab, so here this diagram explain SIC assembler assembling operation. Here you can see that we will write source code. This is the source code in assembly language, and there are two passes, pass 1 and pass 2, and the assembler will convert source program to object code. And while converting source program to object code, this assembler uses three data structures: logctr, optab, and symtab. So during the first pass 1, so this assembler uses location counter, so that's why diagram, and it uses optab as well as symtab. Or you can see that this pass 1 assembler will use all three data structures, and during the pass 1 operation it update location counter value as well as symbol table value. And finally after finishing pass 1 you will get an intermediate file. So that intermediate file is the input of pass 2, and while performing pass 2 operation, the assembler uses optab as well as symtab. So that's why you can see this, what information is present in optab and symtab based on the source program or based on the intermediate file content. It will refer the optab and symtab, and it will produce object code. So once it is finishing the object code, the intermediate file is a temporary file, it will remove. This is the diagram which will show the entire operation of assembling of a source program into an object code. By doing this operation, usually an assembler will perform this operation by pass 1 and pass 2, and we know that why we doing pass 1, because of the forward reference. So one by one we will little more about the operation, this data structure we will see. First one is op table, that is operation code table. So it's a table where we will store all mnemonic operation code and its machine code of the SIC machine. Also it store the instruction format plus the length of the instruction. So that will help to increment the location counter value. So location counter value can increment by location counter plus instruction length of the current instruction. So from the op table we can refer the corresponding operation code, and we will get its machine code plus the instruction format and what is the length of the instruction. So it's a static table because this table is constructed based on the architecture of which machine we are talking about. Usually here it is SIC machine. So there are a certain set of mnemonic code, and it has machine code, and corresponding instruction format and length is fully defined. So we can use an array or a hash table. So the best data structure for the implementation of opcode is hash table, because hash table will help to obtain the result of search fastly compared to array. If you are using hash table, then mnemonic code itself is the key for searching. It's a static table. There is no need to grow as the assembling is performed. The second one is a variable called a location counter or logctr, location counter. So the location counter variable is initialized with the beginning address specified by start statement. Start statement is assemble directives, and followed by start statement we will use some operand, that is an address, and that will help us to understand the beginning of the assembly program. So that address is used to initialize location counter, and location counter will increment by using this equation. So this is nothing but the location counter value plus the instruction length. Whenever we are reading a new instruction, and what is its instruction length in byte, so that will be added to the existing value of location counter, then you will get a new location counter. Whenever we are encounter a label, then the current value of the location counter gives the address to the label that we have encountered. So for that purpose only location counter is maintained, for identifying the address of the label. The current value of the location counter we can use. Next table is SymTab, that is called a symbol table, and here whenever a label is identified in the assembly level program, then that's label information we need to store in a table. That table we call it as a symbol table. For each label, the assembler maintain a records. So that is look like, you can see each record contain many fields. So first we will write here, we will write label name, then we will write what is the address of that label, memory address of that label. Here we will write, first we will write label name, then label address, then next field is type of that label, then next one is what is the length of that label, then here we will write length of the label. Next one is flag of that label. So the flag indicate some certain error condition, whether that label is already defined or multiple definition comes or not, that we can check by using the last field called flag field. So these many information for every label we need to maintain while doing the assembling first pass 1. And this symbol table is a dynamic table because before starting the assembling of the program, we don't have any information about the label used in that program. So that it will define symbol table as a dynamic table. Whenever a new label is identified, and it will insert a record corresponding to that label, and that record contain these information: label name, label address, type, length, flag, etc. Suppose one program contain 3 label, then 3 record will maintain, and another program contain 5 label, then 5 record we need to maintain. So in short, the size of the symbol table is not static in nature. It is dynamically, it is growing in nature. So that's why we are using a dynamic table. So usually usual best implementation is hash table. So where we can use non-random key as the key for searching the hash table, like what variable, what label we have used, that exactly acts as a key of the hash table for searching. That is the usual implementation. So there are 2 tables. One is a static table, second one is a dynamic table. Both the table is implemented by using hash table, and one is dynamic table, the other one is static one. And why we using the hash table is to improve the searching operation, because if you are using other data structure, searching become more time consuming. Okay, next we can see algorithm used by the assembler. So usually the assembling operation performed by using 2 passes, pass 1 and pass 2. And what is the operation in pass 1 and what is operation in pass 2, we will see. Okay, before starting the algorithm, let us see an instruction format is like this: label. First we will write label, then followed by label you can see opcode, then next is operand. This is the usual format structure of an instruction, but the label and operands are not mandatory. There are instructions in which only opcode we will use. There is no operand and label, but this is the general structure. Opcode is mandatory. First step is, so read the first input line. If opcode is equal to start, so that start is an assembly directives which will help the assembler to understand this is the beginning of the program. If it is start, then followed by start we will write what is the starting address, memory address. So what we will do if opcode is equal to start? If opcode equal to start, then we have to save operand as a starting address. So this hash indicate the value at that operand. So what we have stored in that operand. So this is the starting address, and initialize location counter with the starting address, and write line to the intermediate file, because the output of pass1 is an intermediate file. So each line we can write it because this is a line 1. So location counter is initialized, then intermediate file we have started, and first line we started, and from that start opcode. Then read the next input line. So that is over. Then next input line we can start. So end of if statement. The next one is else. Initialize location counter to 0, because we haven't seen start opcode in the program, so that's why location counter is initialized to 0. Next is a while loop. Here we will do a little more thing. So if opcode not equal to end, the end is another assembly directives, and which will help to understand the end of the assembly program. So if opcode is not equal to end, do the following. So inside while loop there is an if condition. That if condition is checking whether it is a command line. If it is not a command line, then we will start another if loop if there is a symbols in the label field. An instruction you can expect, the first thing is label, then opcode, then operand. So if there is a label field, then search the symbol table for that label. If found, then set error flag, because this label is a duplicate, because this label is already identified. That's why symbol table we found the label with the same name. That is why error flag is set as duplicate symbol. If not found, insert label. A new record will start for that label. Then label name and label address is what is present in location counter into the symbol table. So that is what happening in identifying a label. The next one is, if there is no label, then we can expect is an opcode. So opcode we will search in the op tab, operation code table. So if found, then add 3, because usually in SIC assembler each and every instruction is of size 24 bit. So that's why add 3 byte, 3 into 8 24. So add 3 to the location counter, so that instruction is of size 24 bits. If we encounter opcode in op tab. If not, if opcode is a word, then word is also 24 bit, so we need to add 3 to location counter. So that is the length of the instruction. Else if opcode is equal to reserved word, then reserved word is usually used for defining a set of memory locations, each of size word. So we need to add 3 into what is the operand after reserved word. So if it is 10, means we need to reserve 3 into 10 bytes in the memory. So that's why 3 into content of operand to the location counter. Else if opcode is equal to reserved word, so here we are defining, instead of word we are defining reserved byte. Then we have to add what is the operand. Suppose reserved byte 10 we are writing, then 10 byte we have to 10 is added to location counter. So location counter is increased with 10. Else if opcode is equal to byte, if it is a byte, then we need to find what is the length of the constant after byte we have used. If it is 2 byte, then we need to add 2 to location counter. So location counter will increment by 2. So this is the things we will do when we processing opcode. Here you can see that opcode. First opcode is checking opcode is present in op tab. Yes, then to add 3. If not present, then we will check whether it is word, then 3 will add. If it is a word, then 3 into that we will add. Then if it is a reserved word, then what is the operand value that we will add to location counter. If it is a byte, then we will check what is the length of the constants in bytes that we will add it to, that length will add it to location counter. Else if the opcode is not present in any of this, then we will set it as a flag, because an unknown opcode we have written is present in the program, so assembling is not possible. That's why error flag will set. So that is what about if it is not a command line. The next one is if it's a command line, then write line number to intermediate file. That exactly command also we will write into intermediate file. then read the next input line. So this is the end of the while loop. After that, write last line to intermediate file. Then step is very important. So save the location counter minus starting address as a program length, because location counter will give number of bytes of the assembly program. So if you reduce starting address, if you subtract starting address from the location counter, you will get what is the program length in bytes. So that is what last thing we need to do. So this is just for getting the information about what is the length of the program, because we need this information for creating header record. This is what pass1. So pass1 will scan the input program and will produce intermediate file. So while doing this intermediate file creation, it will use location counter information, op tab content, and it will update the location counter, and it will update the symbol table also. Yes, that is about pass1. The next is pass2. What we will do in the pass2 is it will actually create the source code. So the input is intermediate file. Read the first line from the intermediate file. Then if opcode is equal to start, then write the listing of line, because we have identified this is the beginning. Then read the input file. Here we have a source file. That source file will start line number and read the next instruction present in the intermediate file. Then after finishing this one, then it can create first record called header record. So header record contains 4 fields. First field is H, then next field is name of the assembly program, and next field is starting address of the assembly program. So starting address we will get it from operand of start symbol, and next one is what is the length of the assembly program. So all is available. So we can create header record. After creating header record, it will start initializing text record. Yeah. After that, then a while loop will start till the opcode equal to end. If it identified opcode equal to end, it will terminate. If opcode not equal to end, so enter into the while loop. First one is this is not a command line. If it is a command line, it's different. If it is not a command line, again begin search op tab for opcode. So first search the opcode which is present in the op tab. So we will get what is the XOR value corresponding to opcode. If found, if opcode is present in the op tab, then if there is a symbol in the operand field, so after operation code you can expect an operand. That operand is a symbol. Then search the symbol table, sim tab, for that operand information. If it is found in the sim tab, then store the symbol table value as an operand address. Then we will get the operand address from the symbol table. If it is not found, then store 0 as the operand address and set error flag, because there is a new symbol is identified, undefined symbol, so assembling is difficult to do. If it is not an operand, if there is not a symbol in the operand field, then store 0 as the operand address and assemble the operation code instruction. So only operation code is present because there is no operands. Then if opcode found, will finish here. The next thing is else if opcode is equal to byte or word, then convert the constant to byte object code. So what is the corresponding XOR value identify, then store we can create the object code. If object code will not fit into the current text record, then write a text record to the object program and initialize the new text record. Object code is beyond the text record size, then we can initialize a new text record. Then add object code to text record. So whatever object code is available, object code is usually opcode plus the XOR value of the operand. Then this will continue repeatedly for scanning each and every lines in the program. Here write listing the line, read the next input line, then while it will end when opcode is equal to ENT. Okay, then finally the last few statement is write last text record to the object program. because we have identified the object code of the last few lines. Then write the last text code to the object program, and after that we can write end code to the object program. And end code contain E as the first field, then next field is the starting address of the assembly program. So all are available. We can write end code also. So this is the pass-through. So during the pass-through, the assembler, as I say, assembler will produce a header record, text record, and end record. So here actually in this while loop on will perform the entire operation up to this one. So this is the way the pass 1 and pass 2 algorithm work, and it produce, the assembler produce the respective object code. Thank you for watching the video. We will see you with a new video.